Hey everybody, my name's Aaron. I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Positive by Negative, where we're taking that dark spiritual coal and changing it into shiny spiritual diamonds that we can use for our own growth and transformation in this big crazy world of ours. And, the thing that I'd like to talk to today is worthiness. It's a subject that's kind of tricky. A lot of people have a very definite idea of what they think worthiness or unworthiness are. And, it's just one of those things that really affects our daily lives, and especially people in recovery. I think we have a lot of issues with worthiness and unworthiness just by design. And so, worthiness is sort of a conditioned belief. It really is. It's a conditioned response. It's absolutely conditioned into us by our parents, by our education, by our society, by our own actions. As addicts and alcoholics, I think a lot of us struggle with feelings of worthiness, especially when we're new in recovery. Because a lot of us have caused a lot of chaos and have caused a lot of problems in our drinking and drugging careers, and maybe don't feel worthy of a good life afterward. And it's really kind of hard to reconcile. And a lot of us end up going back out, just because, it's what we know. We just don't feel like we're worthy of that next step. And, I've definitely found that to be true in my time. When I first got sober and got into recovery, it was really hard for me to feel worthy of good things. There was a long time that, I just kind of felt like nothing had really changed in my life except for the fact that I wasn't drinking and using. There was a pretty long time that I didn't really feel like my life was progressing. And looking back, I think it was because of me. It was my own conditioned belief that I wasn't worthy of a lot of things. And there's kind of different levels of worthiness and unworthiness. And I think that the one that most people think of is sort of the bigger level of it, where you feel less than, you feel like you just don't deserve or aren't worthy of whatever it is that you want, and forever, I always wanted to own a home. And to this day, I've never bought a house. I got married into a kind of a pre-filled situation, so it's never really been an issue. But, back when I first got sober, at that point, when I first got sober, I absolutely was unworthy of owning a house. My credit was bad. I owed a lot of people money. Like, I just didn't have it together. But, 7 or 8 years into sobriety, I still kind of felt like that. It was crazy. And the opportunity for me to buy a house came up, and I just never even looked into it. I never let myself have that dream, because I just could not shake that feeling of unworthiness. Even though I straightened out my credit, I had a great job, I was making great money, I was absolutely worthy of it. And the only person in the world that thought I wasn't worthy of that experience was me. And like I said, I've still to this day never bought a house. Hopefully, my wife hasn't kicked me out or anything like that, so hopefully it'll never be an issue. But, it's just one of those things that, like, I've always had this block just because of the way that I lived before I was sober. I was always in apartments, and I was always, like, in these really temporary situations, and it just never felt like I would be worthy of being a homeowner. It just always seemed like something that was out of reach to me. And to this day, honestly, it still feels like it would be something that's out of reach to me, even though it's not. And so, a lot of times those feelings of unworthiness are just self-limiting beliefs. Another example from my life is when I was a kid, and to this day, I always wanted an acoustic drum set. I love acoustic drums. I love the big shiny cymbals. I love how loud they are. I love, how you can just like really get it out when you play an acoustic set. And every time I ever brought it up growing up, every time I ever showed any kind of interest in it, I was told that, that's not going to happen. That's not for you. That's not, that's just not possible. And, I had friends that got acoustic drum sets, and, for some reason it seemed like their situation was somehow better or different than mine. I'm not sure what the difference was, but it was always just kind of like, the answer was no. And it was just because, like, that's just not for you. And, to this day, I guess I just got turned down so many times on something that I had, I wanted so much that it just became like out of the realm of possibility even entirely. To this day, I mean, I've got the money right now. I could go, if I wanted to, go and buy a drum set. I have the space. I have a situation in which I could have an acoustic drum set. And to this day, if I were to go and jump in the car to go and buy one, there would be something that would stop me. There's a block in me that tells me, no, we're not doing this, because this is just not something, this is not a thing that you're worthy of. And so there's that kind of unworthiness. And that's sort of like the big, sort of less than feeling, or just like, that's not for me. But then there's like more subtle versions of unworthiness. And, those like can kind of manifest in other ways, like jobs. Sometimes we have what we would consider to be a dream career. I certainly have my idea of what would be my dream career. And, I've seen other people be successful in the way that I would like to be successful, but for some reason it seems like maybe they know something I don't, or maybe they have a circumstance or a situation that's different than mine. And so, in my head, it's like, it's not so much that I don't feel like I'm worthy of it. It's just like, well, maybe that's for somebody else. Maybe that's an experience that somebody else would have, but for some reason, not me. And that's a pretty subtle version of unworthiness, because when it comes down to it, it's all me. I mean, I'm the only person that's limiting myself from having, those kind of experiences. And I think a lot of us do that. My mom was a great example. My mom wanted to travel to Ireland more than anything in the world. It was like her biggest dream in the entire world. And she always said, when I retire, I'll travel to Ireland. So she retired when she was 63. And I was like, well, so what about this trip to Ireland? Well, we'll put off for another year. Unfortunately, my mom ended up dying when she was 64 of liver and pancreatic cancer, and never got to realize that dream. But I don't think she ever would have, even if she would have lived to be 100, because I think there was something in her that made her tell herself that she wasn't worthy of that experience, even though it was a huge dream. It just seemed, I don't know, it seemed like out of reach for her. And so I think we all have those things that we think of that like, well, why would that happen for me? Why would I be worthy of that? And I think the question really to ask is, why would that not happen for me? Why am I not worthy of that? Because, I mean, there is nothing in our DNA, there's nothing in our past, there's nothing in our culture, our class and society that makes us inherently unworthy for anything. So, I think those feelings of either worthiness or unworthiness are completely a decision on our part. They're completely a manifestation of our belief about ourselves. And so, my challenge to myself and to you out there, if this is an issue that you're having, trouble with, is to really sit down, like put pen to paper and think about the things that you would love to have in your life that just feel like, are out of reach or just not an option for you. And think about why. Is it really out of reach? Is it really, something that's not an option for you? Or is it just you telling yourself that because that's a story that you've adopted as part of who you are? I think as this story we tell ourselves, we put boundaries around where we can and can't go. And those are pretty much arbitrary. I mean, there's really no reason for a lot of them. And maybe it's, something that was drilled into us by our parents or by school or society or whatever. Or, just shame and guilt from our past, especially for us alkies and addicts. But, we can let that go. It's okay. It's okay to dream big. I mean, this is our life. We're here to learn and to grow and to build something, that's amazing, that's ours. And there's no reason to put these kind of boundaries around ourselves when they don't really serve any actual purpose other than just to make us, feel bad about ourselves. So that's really all I had today. I just encourage anybody who's got those kind of feelings of unworthiness, or you feel like you're stuck in life and just not making it to the next level, you might want to examine why. Maybe to get to the next level, you would need to get that job, or to get to the next level, you would need to move somewhere or to do whatever it is. And you just like, well, that's just not for me, or like, maybe someday and stuff. It's a good opportunity to really examine those thoughts and those beliefs about ourselves, and to come to the conclusion that, yeah, we're absolutely worthy of all that, always. I mean, really, like, there's really no reason to. And, they say you only live once, and I think we just live once at a time. I definitely believe in reincarnation, but, each one of these lifetimes that we get the opportunity to make the best of it and do the absolute most we can. So, let's not let ourselves be our own worst enemy, our own worst critic. There's no reason for that. So, I hope everybody has a great day. If this resonated with you, awesome. If not, no worries. We can always be friends in another facet of life. But if you liked it, please, subscribe, give me a like, drop me a comment, tell me what you think. And anyway, I wish everybody love and light, and that's all for today. Thanks.